What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. Today, I'm leaving clone bases behind and building 5 of the deadliest creatures to roam the Star Wars galaxy. Which I'm sure is bound to set some people off when I leave some vague expanded universe creature off the list, but hey, that's half the fun. These aren't in any particular order, and there's no specific criteria other than overall lethality. But I've got creatures ranging from the original trilogy to the prequels. If you're ready to laugh and probably cry at some of my creature builds, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get started. I can still remember watching episode 6 as a young lad and seeing the mighty Rancor emerge from its lair and gobble up some space pigs with ease. Far bigger than the Wampa and more dangerous than the Sarlacc pit, this behemoth is definitely one of the most deadly creatures in the Star Wars galaxy. And now I'm gonna completely butcher one of George's finest creations and try building one of my own. Sure, I could have just bought the molded Lego Rancor, but where's the fun in that? Plus, who's paying these prices for a Rancor fig? I want to put my very meager animal building skills to the test and see what I can do. The Rancor is a very top heavy creature, so I started with a couple of stubby legs and built an ovalish body. I started with a brick built core and added some modified 1x1 bricks so I can attach the limbs later on. To make the body look more round and natural, I used 3 molded slope pieces, one on the front and one on the back, and a third one went on top above the shoulders with a ball joint to capture that hunchback look, and so I have something to attach the head to. Since the Rancor is mostly arms, I want to accentuate mine and create some massive nasty looking claws and arms to hide the poorly built legs and body. Let's be real, this thing is basically a walking claw machine anyway, so this is the part of the build that really counts. The Rancor hails from the planet Dathomir and was introduced to Felucia as well, which is pure madness in my opinion, considering the Acklay, which we see in Attack of the Clones, is also from Felucia, making that planet the worst place you could end up on. Unless of course you enjoy riding giant slugs. And if all that wasn't bad enough, the Rancor has a cousin called the Jungle Rancor, which is basically a cross between a turtle and Godzilla, making it the absolute last thing you want to come across while out on a hike. Let me know in the comments which Star Wars planet you think has the most dangerous creatures. Now it's time for the most important part and section that will either make or break this Rancor, the head. This is what I struggle with the most, since making eyes, mouths, and other facial features is basically like trying to keep Jar Jar Binks out of trouble, a near impossible task. The top of the head needs the eyes and nose, so I stuck a couple headlight bricks on the front to act as nostrils and some more on the sides to hold the eyes. I know the Rancor's eyes are front facing, which is not what I did, but having them on the side of the head was, well, that was my only option. Now I can assemble this monster and see if this video is actually going to happen or if I need to scrap everything and go back to the drawing board. The build was a success, and now I need a little scene to properly display it and showcase those massive meat hooks in action. I decided on doing a little Felucia build. I bought some medium azure parts and have been practicing my Felucia looking plants for an upcoming build. In particular, I want to create these tilting tubular plants. I'm using a flex tube and stringing it with a pattern of flower pieces and trans orange 2x2s to create the body. You know I'm gonna waste this opportunity to do an original trilogy mock for once and instead shamelessly make yet another generic Clone Wars build because I love me some clones. It's been a rough morning for this 91st Recon Squad, tasked with knocking out and relocating this Rancor that's been raiding the motor pool of a nearby base. Their blasters, set to stun, aren't strong enough to penetrate the hide of this now very angry beast. Even though the net gun tied up one arm, as this clone is just now learning the Rancor is still quite capable of dealing out some damage. I know I'm not an animal builder, so the bar is very low, but I'm pretty happy with this build. It captures the overall shape and appearance of a Rancor, and those hands just look so menacing. Just don't focus too much on the face. Of all the OP monsters and all the galaxies in various universes, one stands alone. Main character plot armor. But you're here to see flesh and blood monsters, not generic writing tropes, and this next beast is a real threat to democracy, the Zillo Beast. First seen on the Doug's homeworld of Malastare, the Republic quickly found out this creature was impervious to just about any weapon they could throw at it. Not to mention it's about the same size as a small skyscraper, which poses a major issue for me and my limited parts and time available for this video, so I had to downsize a little. I'm gonna build a micro-scale Zillo Beast so I can capture more of the whole thing and better fit it into the mock. Honestly, micro-scale mocks are super underrated, and I'd love to see that scale of building get used more often in the LEGO community. It's a great way to capture larger battles and scenes without needing to take out a second mortgage on the house for parts. Looking at these mocks, you can see there's still ample room for detailed builds and cool techniques. One thing I do find odd about this creature is the random third arm protruding from its back, but I guess when you're climbing giant buildings, having a third arm to swat away incoming ships is a real plus. I'll be displaying my Zillo beast emerging from its underground napping spot on Malastare. The ground is closer to sand red in color, but considering I own exactly 0 pieces in that color, it's time to once again turn to my old friend Dark Tan. The whole Zillo Beast arc came about because Palpatine pushed the use of an untested bomb, which begs the question, did he know what was going to happen? He seemed to have a whole facility ready to safely hold and perform tests on the beast, and the Republic happened to have stun tanks on Malastare, which were the only things capable of subduing it. I don't know, sounds a little too convenient if you ask me. Let me know in the comments what you think. Not long after dropping a very explosive and very untested bomb on Separatist army, the Republic got a good taste of the phrase curiosity killed the cat. The clones went from decimating an entire army with 1 bomb to fighting a massive orange creature that emerged from the sinkhole. Republic stun tanks have repeatedly tried to bring it down, but to no avail, and things are looking pretty grim, unless there happens to be a chink in this beast's seemingly impenetrable armor. This next one is a 3-for-1 since all 3 remaining creatures are included in one scene, and it's pretty obvious which one. You can't do a Star Wars creature video without including the Geonosis arena, starting with the Nexu. I found this awesome trio on the Instagram of Classic Bricks, and knew I had to try building the Nexu and Reek. The designs look really good and the parts used were pretty common ones. Growing up, the Nexu was probably my least favorite of the 3 monsters, but it's really grown on me over the years. A pack of Nexu attacking a squad of clones in the jungle also sounds like a really dope scene I should build in the future, so maybe I'll build a couple more of these. I really want to start including more Star Wars creatures into my mocks to add more world building. That way I'm not just having minifigs and vehicles telling the story. To get the feet to connect to the legs, I had to use a modified flex pipe, and don't ask me how I modified it, it'll only make you angry. My favorite part of this build is definitely the way the spines or hair on the back was designed. The Reek, I believe, was designed by Lewis QE on Instagram, and boy does it look good. I have no idea how the body was built, so I came up with this frame that somewhat matched the picture and covered it up with some panels of plate and slopes. The legs are so complex. This is the type of building I wish I was better at. Small, intricate builds using lots of small, mechanical, technical looking pieces. But those parts are also balanced out with some thicker bricks and slopes to create a natural, non-robotic looking leg. Truly a work of art. Like I said earlier, the head is the hardest part for me. I really like what Lewis did with this one. He used a few pieces to capture notable parts of the head like the mouth and horns, but kept the overall build really simple. The head is instantly recognizable, but isn't overly complicated and messy. This approach is similar to what my buddy Slipstream73 on Instagram does with his Transformer heads, and it's very impressive. Sometimes it's about capturing the essence of something with just a few pieces instead of trying to include every detail and overcomplicating things. Practicing that will help you find more success when building. This last mock was designed by my favorite creature builder out there, Bricksheet. His builds made an appearance earlier this year when I constructed the ultimate Gungan army. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it at the top of the screen. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a way to include a Gungan build in this video, but the Gooberfish is definitely on the list of most deadly creatures, and swimming across one of those will definitely make you say, this is the Bricksheepa Acklay, the most deadly of the 3 arena creatures and my personal favorite. I was always sad Obi-Wan had to kill it, but it wasn't like I was about to chill out and let him ride it off into the sunset, so he didn't really have a choice. Of the 3 builds, this one is the most durable and playable. The legs have multiple joints for some sweet posability as well. The head was a challenge since Sheepa has a way of putting pieces together in a way that just doesn't seem physically possible, but eventually I was able to figure it out, and he even added a mouth that opens and closes, which is a small detail, but makes a big difference when it comes to displaying the Acklay and creating a scene with it. Even though all 3 creatures were in the same scene, I'm going to build 3 different mocks for them. That way each creature is the centerpiece of its own build, and the arena scene in the movie has the 3 victims facing off against each creature separately for the most part, which makes each one-on-one feel more isolated instead of all happening in the same shot, just like having 3 separate builds. This is the Acklay scene, so I'll have the tipped over pillar at the back with an Obi-Wan fig in his absolute prime in regards to hairstyles, fending off the green stabbing machine with a spear. The arena erupts into madness as the 3 creatures close in and attack their victims, but to everyone's dismay, Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan are not going down without a fight. Padme starts things off by managing to scale her pillar and perform a swinging kick, which would make even the most skilled of monkeys proud, which knocks the Nexu to the ground where it's eventually trampled to death by Anakin and his new whip. Speaking of the moody Chosen One, he manages to dodge the stampeding Reek, and as it surveys the arena, he uses the Force to calm it and jump up on its back. He then uses his chain to guide it around the arena, picking up Padme and causing problems left and right. Obi-Wan definitely had the worst time of the 3 going up against the very angry and aggressive Acklay. I don't know what the Geonosans said about his mom before letting him out, but this guy was pissed. Knocking over pillars, stabbing with those massive claw-like pincers, and snapping spears in his mouth like they're pretzels. It was all Obi-Wan could do to not end up like this guy. From a build standpoint, I think I like the Reek the most of the three because of the level of detail and intricacy. The Acklay is a close second, however, with how durable and posable it is, but all three designers did an incredible job. This was a beautiful change of pace from all the destination builds I've been doing for months now. This was all about detail and small scale building instead of just trying to build the biggest base possible or some kind of Republic war machine. There's so much to build and explore in the Star Wars galaxy, and I love any chance I get to leave the beaten path and try out new builds. I would love to do this type of video again in the future and tackle some underwater creatures. That's a wrap for this video. Don't forget to let me know which of these builds is your favorite in the comments, and until next time, happy building.